Yo, what's good, guys? Welcome to the Hoop Stuff Podcast. I'm your host, Isaac, and today I'm joined by my special guest, my Uncle Kevin, who is a LeBron fan, because today we're going to be debating whether LeBron James or Michael Jordan is better. So to start, LeBron James played 400 more games than Michael Jordan.
All right, hold up. Before we even start, we need to get a couple things straight. One, we're talking about two of the legendary NBA players that have ever played the game. But two, if we're talking about who is the GOAT, what's your definition of who's the GOAT? What stats? What are you looking for to make you say this person's the GOAT?
Their stats, their accolades, and you really have to find out those things that factor into their career and what could have affected them to play at a different level.
So you want to talk about some hypotheticals as well as some factual things?
Yes.
That's what makes the GOAT in your mind?
Yes.
All right, go ahead.
So LeBron James did play 400 more games than Michael Jordan, which is obviously going to let him, it's going to make him be able to score more points than Michael Jordan overall in his career. And Michael Jordan averaged 30.1 points on his career, and so far LeBron averages 27.2.
All right, but you got to take into consideration here, one, Jordan, yes, he averaged more, but that's because he took more shots. Look at field goal percentage. LeBron James has a higher field goal percentage than Michael Jordan did. So when you talk about accuracy, you got to give the nod to LeBron.
Well, LeBron also did have more scoring teammates like Kyrie Irving. He has Anthony Davis right now, and he just had other players that he had to share the ball with.
Are you kidding me? Michael Jordan legitimately had an all-star team that he played on. He never went to the playoffs without Scottie Pippen. He never won anything before he had what was essentially an all-star team around him. Keep in mind that when LeBron left, each one of the teams that he did before he moved on, those teams collapsed and they didn't go anywhere. When Michael Jordan left, right after he left, the Bulls went to the playoffs and they lost on a last-second shot to the Knicks. So when you talk about the importance of the players that they're around, that right there tells you and shows you how good the players were around each one of those team members.
Yeah, but the thing is with Dennis Rodman, he was more of a rebounder for Michael Jordan, and he didn't score points like that for Michael Jordan. And Scottie Pippen was more the same kind of player as Kyrie Irving was to Michael Jordan.
Whoa. Not even close. Are you kidding me? Scottie Pippen compared to Kyrie Irving? No. Scottie Pippen, and I'm glad you brought up Dennis Rodman. The worm was phenomenal. But those two guys, they got the hard jobs done every night. They were the ones that had to play the toughest D against the best player on the other team. Where LeBron James has always been the guy that goes up against the other team's number one. So when you talk about a great player, it's LeBron James. It's clearly LeBron James. He's not only putting up the numbers, but he's going out and he's playing against their number one, whereas Michael Jordan was laying back, just shooting up, not passing the ball at all.
I will say LeBron was definitely he's a better passer than Michael Jordan by a little bit, but he's also
by a little bit. He's got twice as many assists.
But also he is a better rebounder, but he's also he's also taller than Michael Jordan by a little bit, and he has a different build than Michael Jordan had. But Michael Jordan has 6 rings to LeBron's 4 too.
Okay, but we're not talking about just rings. Otherwise, we would be talking about a completely different player right now.
But that also does factor into why Michael Jordan is better than LeBron James.
I don't think you can do that, because if you sat there and said it was all about the rings, then we would be talking about Russell.
I'm not saying it's all about the rings. I'm just saying the rings factor into the GOAT conversation.
I'm glad you're saying that the ring should factor into the GOAT conversation, because just last week on your podcast, when you had, it would be 2 weeks ago from when this was, you listed the guy that has the most rings as your 10th best. So how can you turn around and say that those rings mean so much more for Michael Jordan than they do for LeBron?
I'm not saying that's the only thing that matters though. I'm just saying it factors into it a little bit.
But it didn't factor it in enough for Bill Russell to be 10 versus 1 in your book 2 weeks ago.
Because he's not that all around player like some of the other players on my top 10 list were.
Granted, all around, right? How many positions did Michael Jordan play? That's right, don't look, I'll tell you, 2. He played 2, right? How many does LeBron play? All 5. The man dominates at 5 positions.
Michael Jordan Also, Michael Jordan's played 5 less seasons than LeBron has so far. LeBron's played 20 seasons. He's just finishing up his 20th, and Michael Jordan only played 15.
Well, that's true, but LeBron is also 2 years younger than when Michael Jordan ended, so you can wipe out two of those. Plus, you're talking about hypotheticals, wishes, and wannabes that Michael Jordan could have potentially done. The guy had to leave when he cut his finger and severed a tendon in his thumb with a cigar cutter. So you want to hold that against LeBron because he wasn't stupid and cut his finger with a cigar cutter?
But another problem with Michael Jordan is that he had a lot of like mental issues because of his dad being murdered.
I'm not going to argue with you about him having a lot of issues. So there you go.
But he was out for 3 years in the middle of his career, and he took a year break before that too.
The reason he had to leave in '98 was because he cut his finger. Yes, I'm not saying that he didn't go through the things that he did with his father, God rest his soul. But at the end of the day, he physically could not have been there playing either because he had a tendon that was severed in his finger.
Okay, I will say that's true, but another thing is Michael Jordan was more of a clutch player than LeBron James because LeBron just hasn't hit those clutch shots like Michael Jordan has. For example, the shot over Utah. The shot that Michael Jordan hit over in Utah. The buzzer beater.
So you don't think LeBron has hit clutch shots?
No, but that shot like Michael Jordan's hit more than just that one, but I feel like Michael Jordan's a more clutch player than LeBron is.
I disagree. You had the 2007 Eastern Finals where LeBron scored 25 straight points to go ahead and beat Detroit, right? That's 25. That's not one. That's the straight 25 to come back and beat them. You had the game 6 with the Celtics where he was going up against the Celtics big three where he went out and he put up 45 points against them to eliminate them. He had the cramp game where he cramped up after playing 45 minutes, got an IV, came back in and hit a three to end it. We're talking about playoffs here, playoff clutch stuff. We're not even just talking about regular clutch stuff, right? There was the Game 4 buzzer beater against the Bulls in 2015. There was that block that he did, right? So that we're talking about the greatest of all time. We're talking about who can play every aspect on that floor. I just talked about a three-pointer. I talked about the numbers, scoring the numbers, and then the block, right? So that's playing defense that's ending somebody else's season.
I want to go back to the part where you're saying about like Michael Jordan had a lot of help like with Scottie Pippen and Dennis Rodman and he had like all-star
Steve
lineup
Kerr
around him.
and
Yeah.
Tony Kukoc and Dennis Rodman. I mean, we're talking about a whole team of Hall of Famers right now, but go ahead.
While I'm thinking of clutch shots, I was just thinking about the shot that Ray Allen took to the buzzer beater that Ray Allen took to that is literally called the shot that saved LeBron's career.
Some people may call it the shot that saved his career, but that's far from true. He had a career that was already firmly established before that, and he's done way more since then too.
But that could have caused him to not have as many championships as he has today.
Let's talk about the strength of the opponents that somebody's going up against, right? When you look at when Michael Jordan actually started putting some of those accolades together when he got his championships, who was he playing against?
Michael Jordan, he had like Dominique Wilkins. There was a lot of good shooting guards back then.
No, there were not. There were a handful of shooting guards that could even shoot with their left hand, not just their right hand. It was one of the weakest times of shooting guards. And let's also not forget, in 95, 96, and 97, when Michael Jordan did so much of that damage, you know what the NBA did during that time? They shortened the three-point line to 22 feet. It was an experimental time that they tried to do that to help increase the scoring. They didn't do anything like that with LeBron.
Yeah, but LeBron's not a shooter.
He has a higher field goal percentage and a higher three-point percentage than Michael Jordan does. So if he's not a shooter, then what's Michael Jordan?
Michael Jordan is more of a finisher, but
I just gave you a long list of different ways that LeBron finishes.
LeBron didn't start shooting till towards the end of his career. As his career has went on, he's gotten better at shooting, and when he started off his career, he had a 29% three-point percentage, and now he has a 31 three-point percentage.
That's because the man lives, breathes, and sleeps NBA basketball and honing in his body. Meanwhile, your boy Michael Jordan lives, sleeps, and he did cigars and gambling and golf. All those things ranked above what he needed to do instead of going out and getting better at his craft, at what he should be out there, what he's paid to do.
But even after he was doing all that stuff and focusing on other stuff in his life, he was still a great player.
Oh, I'm not doubting he was a great player, but we're talking about the greatest of all time. If you don't have the ability to focus and hone in on your craft, then how are you the greatest?
He still he was still focusing on his on the game still through even through that, so even when he was playing golf and stuff, he was still a tremendous player.
Let's rewind back to who did he play against? You gave me Dominique. That's it.
But like I said, Michael Jordan is more of a finishing player, and they had a lot of
It's easy to finish when you're playing against a bunch of people that aren't any good.
But what about the centers that are in the paint, trying to block his shots and stuff?
Which centers are you talking about that were so great at the time that Michael Jordan was putting up these numbers?
You had Patrick Ewing.
So the one man on the Knicks team at the time. That's your argument. You also have to remember back then that all of those inside guys, all of those big guys, they weren't big like they are today. They were just heavier, taller, wider guys. Today, those guys that are down in the paint, those centers, they're athletic. You see them going out and able to hit the three. They move out from the paint. They're cut. These are specimens. They are jack dudes that are out there doing things that you shake your head wondering what's going on. That wasn't the case back then. Back then, it just meant, oh, you were the bigger guy in the classroom, so we're going to put you down in the center position, and it's easy for you to bully ball down there.
But there's also players like Dikembe Mutombo, Shaquille O'Neal, David Robinson, who are all great defenders that Michael Jordan had to deal with.
What was Michael Jordan's signature move? A step back shot, right? That mid step back shot where he wasn't going to the hole like that. And you got to remember, he was before his time from an athletic perspective, when you didn't have shooting guards that were able to manipulate their bodies like he was, right? Now, everybody does that.
Another thing for Michael Jordan is that he had a lot, he didn't have as many younger years as LeBron did, because LeBron had just came right out of high school.
He also didn't have the pressure that LeBron had because he came right out of high school. Michael Jordan went to North Carolina. When he came in, it was at the tail end years of both Magic Johnson and Larry Bird, right? So you had two greats that were already dominating the headlines for the NBA. When LeBron was 16 years old, he was already on all the covers of Sporting News, the magazines, on TV, on ESPN. He was already underneath a microscope, showing that he couldn't do anything without it being in the spotlight.
But that obviously shows that LeBron was practicing his whole life, as where Michael Jordan didn't start practicing constantly until he was in 10th grade. Because when he was in 9th grade, or when he was in 10th grade, sorry, when he was in 10th grade, he got cut from his basketball team. He didn't make his high school basketball team.
LeBron was good enough he didn't get cut when he was in 10th grade.
Because
right,
he was because he was practicing his whole life. Michael Jordan didn't start practicing till 10th grade, consistently.
So that's a ding against LeBron because he was practicing?
If Michael Jordan,
I wish Allen Iverson was here right now. We were talking about practicing between the two of us. But go ahead.
If Michael Jordan would have practiced at a younger age, I feel like he could have been even better than he already was.
Right, but we're still, again, your main base relying on hypotheticals. If he had started, if he had stayed longer, right? Well, if I won the multi-millionaire baller club, guess what? I'd be doing a whole bunch of other things too. Those ifs and maybes, those aren't guaranteed. What LeBron has done is put up the numbers with all of that pressure on him in front of everybody. There's no guessing what could or would he have done. He's doing it. He has done it.
Another thing with Michael Jordan is he was the type of player who wasn't scared of anybody. like he was like that leader in practice. He was a coach and a player at the same time in
Right. You
practice.
know what kind of coach and teammate he was? The same one that punched Steve Kerr in the face. Right.
Because that's the kind of person who Michael Jordan is.
Okay, I don't know if you know this or not, but society today would not let that occur. Michael Jordan wouldn't even have been able to play in the NBA, regardless of his talent, because of how he acted outside. He bullied people. He punched his own teammates. The gambling, all the things that the NBA swept underneath the rug or didn't address out openly. None of those things would be allowed to occur today. Michael Jordan himself said that part of the reason he was leaving was because the media attention had gotten too much back then. Not today. Today, you can't go anywhere without it making it onto the internet.
But another player who recently has punched a player in practice was Draymond Green when he punched Jordan Poole, and he's still playing.
Yeah, and how much attention did he get, and what does everybody think of Draymond Green?
He got a lot, but since then it's really cooled down. But at first it was pretty like he was a pretty hot topic. Like there was a lot of people saying that the Warriors were gonna trade him, but they didn't because he's more like a Dennis Rodman too.
I'm glad you brought him up, right? Because your boys, the Warriors, the Golden State Warriors, don't forget that team that had more wins than the Bulls did.
By one.
Right? They had more. Who beat them? I'm waiting. Go ahead. Wait. Who?
LeBron James.
That's all I needed to hear.
But Draymond Green had a ejection.
That's what Draymond Green gets all the time. That shouldn't be a shock. You know, he got how many of those throughout the course of that season when they still won. So you can't use that excuse. At the end of the day, you still have to give the props to LeBron and the team that he's bringing to the table.
I'm gonna say one last thing. Actually, I'm gonna say two more things. Michael Jordan, like I was saying, with the part where I was saying he wasn't scared of anybody, he was a fun player to watch, and like he would mess around with people. Like he wouldn't like. Sometimes he would I don't know how to describe it, but he would mess around with the ball and stuff, and do crazy things with the ball.
Well, he could. He was playing against a bunch of people that were so far inferior to him. The quality of play around him wasn't there. So you can. It's like the Harlem Globetrotters going out and playing against the YMCA All-Stars. They're able to go out and do those things because you don't have to worry about the other team.
Well, another thing is basketball wasn't as popular back then as it is now, where you have players you could see fifth graders playing at a level that 12th graders would have been playing at back then. Today you can see that.
The other thing you got to remember is that Michael Jordan also benefited from the fact that the NBA did 2 expansions during his time when he was actually really doing really well, which means that they put out 2 more teams twice, and 3 of those 4 were all in the Eastern Conference, meaning that you had 4 brand new teams that had not established anything that he was playing and going up against. He had an all-star team going up against expansion teams. How is that fair competition?
LeBron also like I said, I feel like LeBron had more help scoring than Michael Jordan did.
Michael Jordan never passed the ball. You can't ask for somebody else to help you score when you don't pass.
But Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen was a big contribution. He passed a lot to Scottie Pippen too, though.
I don't know if I'd go so far to say that he passed a lot. In that time that he played, he had how many assists? He was at least half of what LeBron already has.
And looking at Scottie Pippen's stats, in the 90s he was averaging nearly 20 points per game every season, which is a solid amount.
Yeah, none of those came from assists from Michael Jordan. That dude didn't pass the ball at all. Once in a while he may have lost the handle, and Scottie Pippen got it. Michael
Jordan on his career averaged 5.3 assists per game, and LeBron on his career averaged 7.3. That's 2 more assists than Michael Jordan.
Yep.
That's it's not really that big of a difference.
That's every 6 shots that LeBron makes and puts up. That's 9 that Michael Jordan did. That is a lot if you think about the course of the game.
And another thing that I want to add on is on even on ESPN's top 75 players, they even have Michael Jordan at number one. Who like they're people who study the game every single day. Like that's their job.
Their job is to get people to listen. Their job is to make money off from advertisement, right? And this right here, what we're doing right now, this all brings it up. This all comes around full circle to them. This gets them the views, the clicks, everything else. The fact that you and I are sitting here looking at stats that are coming up and going on their website, that's what gets us going. That's what makes them money. It's how many clicks go onto their website. At the end of the day, LeBron has already accomplished statistically, individually, more than Michael Jordan ever did.
One last thing I want to talk about is I want to talk about the accolades that LeBron had compared to the accolades that Michael Jordan had because yes, we did see LeBron as a we've seen him at 19 All-Star games where Jordan was only in 14, but again, Jordan did play less seasons than LeBron and but Michael Jordan was a 10-time scoring champion where LeBron was a one-time scoring champion and Michael Jordan was, like I already said earlier, 6-time NBA champion to LeBron's 4. Jordan was a 5-time MVP to LeBron's 4. Michael Jordan was a 9-time Defensive Player of the Year, or all defense player, and LeBron was 6-time all defense team. Like I feel like Michael Jordan has better accolades. He's 6-time Finals MVP. So all 6 he was in, he won the MVP. So was LeBron. He has four. He has 4 Finals MVPs, but he's like I said, he still has less championships. And they were both Rookie of the Year.
So a couple last things that I want to bring up is one, when you talk about LeBron James and you talk about everything that he's done, he started at a younger age than Michael Jordan did, right? So you say, oh well, that's why he's got so much more. Well, guess what? That means that those first few years that should have been transitional to what Michael Jordan was putting up at North Carolina, and it just wasn't, right? And LeBron is still playing. The fact that we're having this debate when the player is still actively playing, that sets him apart from anybody else. I just looked at your top 10. Your top 10 did not include any other active players other than LeBron James. And you're debating him for number one. Most everybody, what happens is when you look at a player's final career stats, that's when you start making an argument as to whether or not where they are on the greatest of all time for whatever it is. But here we are having a debate about a guy that's still actually playing and still putting up numbers. There's a really good chance that LeBron James is going to be the first and only 40,000 point scorer in the history of the NBA. He's on track to do it. It's not hard to imagine he's going to not just bypass that, but who knows how much more it could be. Because again, he's still 2 years younger than Jordan was when he left.
But LeBron has already said that LeBron has already said that his son, he wants to play with his son for at least 1 year. So his son comes into the league in what, 2 years?
Yep.
So if he retires in 2 years, then he's gonna play the same exact amount as Michael Jordan did. Like he's gonna play
They have like
to the same
10,000
age.
more points than he has.
But that's without the 4 years that Michael Jordan missed, and Michael Jordan also played in the 1985 to 1986 season. He played 18 games in the whole season, and 1994 to 1995 he played 17 games the whole season. Whereas LeBron has not missed any seasons, like he hasn't been out for a long period of time in any seasons really.
Here's a guess. Maybe it has to do without going out drinking and smoking and gambling all night. That could be why he hasn't missed it. He invests so much of his time and effort into making sure his body is in peak condition to participate and play in these games, whereas Michael Jordan disregarded it. So when you're talking about the greatest of all time, how can you say that somebody who disregards those things is the greatest?
Because back then that was like a normal thing for people to do. Like people would like do that kind of stuff on a nightly basis. Like especially like NBA players with like a lot of money.
Are you kidding me? When LeBron came into the league, the average thing for an 18-year-old to do is not the things he was doing. right? When you're in the NBA, when you are supposed to be the elite of the elite, and you've got that eye on you and that pressure on you, you can either use those other vices. And again, I'm not arguing that Michael Jordan wasn't a great player. I think he was a great player, but LeBron's influence on the court and off the court have been something that Michael Jordan could have done and hasn't. With all of the glory that he has, with all the fame that he has, he could be so much bigger of an advocate for things that are going on in society, and he hasn't done that. In addition to being great on the floor, LeBron has not only put up those ridiculous numbers that nobody's going to come close to. He's been in the forefront of social justice. He's been in the forefront of making NBA players realize the power that they have and the influence that they have on society and today's youth in its whole. LeBron James started up a college for the inner city youth. Are you kidding me? Michael Jordan has made so much money. Why hasn't he done that? Why hasn't he been a bigger advocate for the people that are out there? So on the court, off the court, LeBron James, check mark, GOAT, period.
Well, I think it is really close, and I honestly think that LeBron could end up being the GOAT, but I still would say that right now, as of right now, this minute, Michael Jordan is better than LeBron James. But it's also hard because they also played two different positions.
No, LeBron played all the positions.
LeBron's main position though is small forward, like a small forward or a power forward.
It depends on what team he's on. He's been main position has been power point for most in all of the season at times.
That's another thing. Like LeBron, if you're putting LeBron at point guard, and you're matching him up with a player like somebody who's like really short, like Isaiah Thomas. Isaiah Thomas doesn't play much anymore, but if you're matching LeBron up against a player like Isaiah Thomas, he's just going to be able to play bully ball because he's so much bigger than him.
But we're talking about greatest of all time NBA. We're not talking about greatest of all time power forward, shooting guard. No, we're saying greatest of all time, which means that you're factoring in everybody that played every position, and that includes LeBron, who has played all of those positions. So when he goes down low and he's playing against big guys and he's still getting the job done, you're not giving him credit for that, but you want to say that
because he's also taller than Michael Jordan. So you're gonna have more height advantage against those centers. Like he's short. He's obviously gonna still be shorter than most of the centers that he's going up against. But he also is. He's taller than Michael Jordan was.
Right. So he's also taller than those point guards that he's covering too. Right. The ones that are a lot quicker, that are getting around. So he's going against those guys. There is not a position that he hasn't gone up against. He goes up against all of them. And he's been successful against all of them.
I would say LeBron at center. LeBron cannot play center for a whole season.
He can play center longer than Michael Jordan could.
Because Michael Jordan is smaller than LeBron James though.
He can play Michael Jordan's position just as well and better, and he plays every position on the court. And he goes against, like I said earlier, he goes against the best player on the other team.
There's not very many times where I've seen LeBron James guarding Steph Curry if they're playing the Warriors.
All you have to do is go back and watch the finals again.
But every time they play the Warriors, does LeBron guard Steph Curry?
I'm not saying he guards every single time, but hey, guess what? How many All-Stars are on that team? You mean to tell me when it was Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Kevin Durant, and Draymond Green, he never guarded any of them? Who was he guarding then?
Kevin Durant, maybe?
Yeah, and Kevin Durant is one of the greatest scorers that's playing the game right now.
I'd still say at that time, Steph Curry was better than Kevin Durant, though. Steph Curry in 2016 was, like, crazy.
Yet he didn't make your top 10.
Because he's still going. But
so is LeBron, but he made your top 10.
Steph Curry is not what we're talking about.
That's a little sensitive subject for you. I get it.
That's going to be it for today's episode. I hope this informed you more about like LeBron and Michael Jordan debate. And let us know down in the comments who you think is the better player, Michael Jordan or LeBron James. And I just wanted to say thank you to my uncle for joining me today.
Thanks for having me on. I really appreciated this. And at the end of the day, remember, folks, there's this debate's going to be going on longer than any of us are going to be alive. But at the end of the day, both were great players. Both are going to be at the top of everybody's list. But again, thank you so much for having me on.
Yep. And thank you guys for watching. If you liked the video, drop a like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next episode.